Hello and welcome to Cinema Savvy. It's myself, George, today joined by Chris, and we have a review for one of this year's favourite Oscar films. Also, the longest film title I've ever seen, by the Jim Carrey documentary from last year, is Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Missouri.
Sorry, we don't.
You would think you like meshed Mississippi and Missouri into like one name.
See, we don't get taught American geography. We only know what the important ones like New York and LA, nothing else.
That's like half of our US viewers just like tuned out right now.
Just like all typing away. Like, fake news, fake podcast. But no, this is one of the Oscar favorites.
Yeah.
It came out in America, I think, in November, or towards the end of last year. It got a premiere at London Film Festival, but its UK release was last Friday.
Yeah, so it was released in Venice. Apparently, this is according to Wikipedia, September 4th. Then United States got it in November. Yeah, we just got it January 12th. January 12th.
And a film under the radar. You actually told me about this coming out. So for those that don't know, this is written and directed by Martin McDonagh, I think you pronounce it like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he's done In Bruges and Seven Psychopaths. For me, two of the funniest, most outrageously written films of a long time. Very, very original, each their own. And he's a director that's craved my attention so much that I forgot he had a film coming out, and you reminded me. Now, before we talk about the film quickly, I didn't see a trailer of this, which we and you both kind of spoke about before we hit record, so I only really knew about this via you, Oscar, well, sort of the Golden Globes domination it's took, I guess we can say that. It's up for all the BAFTAs, and obviously the Oscar noms are on Tuesday, so it's getting a lot of Oscar attention. But I think this is outright say this is one of the favourites, probably definitely being in the top 5 of the all-rounders. But oh my word, before we go into it, it was definitely worthy of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I don't want to go too much into my predictions yet because we're going to have our own predictions video later on next week. But every year with the Academy Awards, you tend to get that one movie that's like the popular favorite choice to win Best Picture. Like you had Revenant, for example, although ultimately it didn't win. And that seems to always be the case every year. There's always that one movie. I think that's going to be the case with this one, certainly for this year. But I think it might go to something like The Post or something like that. But definitely for a number of categories, I think we're going to go into the performances in just a little while. But Frances McDormand, I think, has pretty much got it in the bag, or definitely is probably in the top 2 in terms of strong contender for Best Female Lead. If Sam Rockwell doesn't take the Best Supporting Actor award, then there's something really up with this, because once again, he turns in a solid performance. But going to the director's previous works, I guess as of right now, because he hasn't released a 4th film after this, you can kind of see this as like a little mini trilogy of his little movies. I haven't seen In Bruges, although I've heard it's fantastic. You've sent me a great meme with Ralph Fiennes, so I think I definitely need to watch that film at some point. I have seen Seven Psychopaths, but that was many, many, many years ago. I only watched it the once, and although I really remember loving that film, I can't remember it enough to talk about it. So I think before I watch this movie again, certainly I need to go back and rewatch or watch his previous 2 movies as well.
Yeah, and he's a famous playwright. I don't know much about theatre, but he's very, very high regard. He's made the transition to not just screenplay, but directing films as well. And he's got together a kind of a core group of people. But one thing I want to say is this reminds me of a Coen Brothers film, and not just because it's got sort of Frances McDormand in, but the way he writes it, it's so unique, and it's got that sort of dramatized wit throughout the script that
I will say I enjoyed this a lot more than a Coen Brothers movie, because I've gone on record saying I'm not the biggest Coen Brothers fan. But I know I can absolutely see what you're saying with it.
They're each unique, aren't they? They're films like, this isn't your bog standard Oscar season film. This isn't your bog standard blockbuster. This isn't your bog standard comedy. It's taking bits and bobs, but I think talking about comedies like this was a lot more of a drama than his previous films. They're saying it's a black comedy, and there are some very comedic moments, but this is not a cheerful film to take your family to the cinema to see. This is brutal. I mean, it's not really a spoiler, but the first 5 minutes is set when you get a billboard, because obviously it's called Three Billboards, and it's like being raped, dying while she was being raped, or I've got the words mixed up, but as soon as I saw it, I goes, wow, okay, this isn't going to be the outrageous comedy I predicted it could be. but that had me more intrigued into it because I do like myself a kind of a whodunit drama type. It reminded me a lot of Prisoners and Zodiac. Without going into it too much, but the actual story itself was stunning.
Yeah. Now, I'm really sort of conflicted on this movie, and in all honesty, I'm not the guy to review this movie. I've only seen the film once as of right now, and I think I'm gravitating more towards really liking it. But the first time I watched it, I was left sort of underwhelmed isn't the right word. I think I went into this movie with the wrong perspective of what the actual movie turned out to be. I went into this expecting like another Seven Psychopaths, like that tone. All-out comedy. As you said, it's listed as a black comedy. I love dark comedy. But there's definitely, I would say, more of a percentage of an all-out drama in this film than there were laugh-out-loud, ha-ha, funny jokes. Don't get me wrong, there are some jokes in this movie that are absolutely incredible. There are some shocking moments which, even in themselves, are still funny. But you're right, you just pitched the plot of the movie right there, and it deals with a lot of serious issues. And you see characters in a very, well, incredibly desperate state. And I don't think that's what I was expecting from the movie. So I think when this movie finished and hit credits, I was just sort of like a blank slate. I was like, I'm going to need to watch that again. And I'm still in that boat now. But the more I've thought about it after I've watched it, and I watched this, a good few days ago since it came out. But the more I've thought about it and hearing you talking about it as well, I think I am tending towards that this is a great movie, but I think it's one that definitely will benefit through multiple viewings. On the surface level, it feels like nothing much has been accomplished from this film. Like they pose this plot, but not going into spoilers, but you feel like, well, what's the point of this movie exactly?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know
exactly. You know what I mean? It's really tough for me to talk about this one. I'm sort of all scattered-brained on this movie, to be honest.
We'll get down to spoilers because I think I know what you mean with that. And we've got Brent in the comments who I think is the same. He says he wanted more. Yeah. I guess, we don't have an outright schedule, but if we just go into performances, that's enough to carry us through into spoilers after. So let's start with the lead, Frances McDormand, who you said she's going to take the Oscar. She should take the Oscar. She was scarily good in this. Like I said, I'm going to keep going back to Prisoners, but she reminds me of Hugh Jackman in Prisoners, that she is this not twisted but passionate parent that's going through a lot after obviously what's happened with her daughter, and she is it's hard to describe what she is. She's just fantastic. She's obviously the lead character. She pays for the billboards to go up, and she just wants to see justice for her daughter, but it's the way she interacts with each and every other cast member that makes her stand out. There's a couple of people that do stand out. The script is perfect, like his other films. But her on screen, she's got great chemistry with everyone, and that only sort of brightens up her performance even more.
Yeah, definitely. And if you're going to look at sort of like cliff notes of different emotions from an actor like this, she absolutely showcased it in this movie. She can do sadness, grief. She gets some really laugh out loud, funny moments in there. And not just that, but she's like a really determined character as well. The character she is at the beginning of the film, though she does get a great character arc in the film, she always has that driven spirit throughout it, and it takes her into many different shenanigans, some of them violent towards the end of the movie. But no, she's always a great actress anyway. It's just a crying shame when you see her in stuff like Transformers Dark of the Moon, and you really see what this actress can do, and then she's given a role like that, but I digress. No, I thought she was fantastic. She's just absolutely amazing actress, and she pretty much runs the gamut of everything you can in a role like this, really.
Yeah, and
I think really like distressing and like upsetting moments with her as well, which really, really do sort of like, like powerhouse performance in that regard.
And I think he said he wrote this, he cast her before the script was done.
Yeah.
So he actually wrote the character specifically with her in mind. Likewise, he did with Woody Harrelson, Sam Rockwell. You both obviously worked with him on Seven Psychopaths. So I think that's a credit to not just the actress, but obviously the writer and director as well, because he obviously knows what he can get out of her, so he goes and gets out of her, which is it's just.
You can tell brilliant. That this is a director with a plan. Like, this is one of the tightest written scripts I've seen to a film in a long time. Every actor worked, and the direction is just on point. Like, you can tell this was like meticulously crafted and executed as well, which is what you want from a movie ideally, and that's what we get with this one.
Yep, and even more of a Coen Brothers comparison. Yeah. You're going to come out like hating them, like, oh no.
But, I'm still staying true to my hate for the Coen Brothers, but That's a different story.
Definitely. Definitely no Shakespeare wit here. Right, so we've got Frances McDormand. Then we've got
Should we do Woody
the
Harrelson?
MVP. Oh no, okay, let's do Harrelson first.
Okay, I was going to save the best to last, but
save the best. No, save the best to last. We've got Woody Harrelson next. Woody Harrelson is an actor where I struggle to find him in a bad performance. Now there may be one somewhere, but if he is on a film, you normally know that he is going to be all right in it. He is fantastic with every. I think he picks his projects wisely. This is where you tell me that he was in like some kind of dreadful, sort of gigantic blockbuster, but
he probably is. But he's always great in everything he's in.
Yeah, he's always great. I mean, even last year we had Planet of the Apes, who was one of the most chilling villains of last year. Even going back the way to Natural Born Killers, I think a lot of it comes down to not just his face. That's so harsh, but he has a very unique face. But obviously, if you get the background that his dad was a hitman and stuff, so he's always took on these. I mean, it's not a violent role in this, but there's that vibe to him that you wouldn't cross Woody Harrelson. He's even going to be in the Han Solo film.
Yes, he's the one thing I'm looking forward to with that movie, I think, at this point.
But he plays a cop. Can we say?
Much no, that's pretty. Well, we can say that
he's like the chief. He's the head of the chief Willoughby. That's his name.
Yeah.
He's sort of head of the police. He's got a family, and he's kind of heading up the case with Frances McDormand Doughton. He's got most of his scenes are either with Sam Rockwell or they're with Frances McDormand, and he's great again. I mean, in Seven Psychopaths, he was the psycho villain, batshit crazy. Like he was killing everyone for stealing his dog. Now that's a villain in itself. But it's in this, it was the original Wick. In this, oh god, it's so much to talk about. That's spoiling it.
I'll say that, as you said, like he's sort of like was heading up the case, and then Frances McDormand feels that he's sort of dropped the ball a bit, or he's looking into other cases. He's forgotten about the case of her daughter's death, and he's really the target of her billboards, or at least one of the billboards, in that he's not doing enough to bring justice to her daughter or to track down this criminal, and we find him in a state where you kind of do sympathize from both sides. Like you do agree with Frances McDormand that maybe the police could do more things, but he has this like conversation with her. I think they're on like a swing set or on the porch or something. And he says, basically, we are doing everything within our power to find him. Like we haven't forgotten about him. And you can tell that it's still been playing on his mind, but you know, he's a busy man. He's dealing with a lot of things. And I guess we will leave it until that. But Woody Harrelson, as you said, he's an absolute chameleon of an actor, whether he can be that sort of mentor figure, and I'd say he tends more towards that role in this film, the mentor figure. It'd be interesting to see if he does the same in the Han Solo spin-off.
Oh, we already know he is.
Yeah. Or he'll be in Zombieland, for example, which is one of my favorite comedy performances in a film in a long time. He's quite an imposing character as well, as you said, War of the Planet of the Apes, but he always kind of meshes these qualities into every single role that he has. He's definitely one of my most likable actors in Hollywood, I think, in terms of his roles that he does. Absolutely love anything that guy does.
And I think he can attract people to it. Where if Woody Harrelson's in it, you can get fingers crossed that this is probably going to be a decent film as well. He does pick his projects wisely. And we'll see how, what's his name? Like Beckett's, not the one from Pirates of the Caribbean, but that is him in Han Solo film. Maybe they're related for another dimension. We can only hope. But,
I mean, I love Woody Harrelson, but I'm glad they didn't cast him as Cutler Beckett. I'm very happy with the casting we got for Cutler Beckett for the Pirates of the Caribbean films.
I'd love to see him in Pirates of the Caribbean, though, just as an off-topic. He would be amazing.
Got him as the next villain. Oh, no, we got Davy Jones as the next. Spoiler alert. The last.
But the best. I mean, it's one of those ensemble casts, but really there's three people. We're not going to talk about Peter Dinklage. He's literally in it for like 3 scenes. Yeah. I think that's just a bit of advertising because he's in Game of Thrones and because it's Peter Dinklage.
What did you think to his accent in this movie?
I didn't know if I was watching X-Men for a few seconds. He's an actor that normally people are like, oh my God, he's English in real life because he does such a good American accent. Peter Dinklage, to me, he's always going to be Tyrion Lannister, and he doesn't actually suit the American accent. No, and I don't know if that's because I'm so used to Game of Thrones, but I don't know. He's even got the mustache like he does in X-Men. It was really hard not to see the comparisons.
You see him in real life, and you think he's still doing a performance. right? And
Yeah.
then like Tyrion Lannister's is I get what you're saying. I think it's because we're so used to him. Like that's the role we've seen the most of him in, right? And like we've stayed with. So.
And he hasn't really done too much else other than them two.
No.
That's one scene in Elf.
Mm-hmm.
But no, he's fine. He's got a couple of moments, but he's not the MVP. The MVP is Sam Rockwell.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Rockwell is one of those actors where he is absolutely amazing in everything he does. I'm not going to sit there and say I've seen every Sam Rockwell film ever made. But if Sam Rockwell's in a film, there's more chance of me making the effort to watch it. You guarantee he's going to dance at least once. He's full of charisma. He's one of the happiest guys, one of the funniest guys around. He is he's someone that you'd want to hang out with. You want to go to the pub for a couple of drinks. Then you see he's in 3 Billboards. You see he wins Best Supporting Actor. You're like, get in, Sam Rockwell's in this film. And he's a massive racist bent cop. Everything I didn't expect him to be, which made me love it even more, because this is certainly the most versatile Sam Rockwell film performance I've ever seen him have.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of the time, not as a criticism, but you see Sam Rockwell playing Sam Rockwell, and he is excellent every time he plays it. But in this, he is something else. And my word, he is frightening. And you said before he hit record, he's got the best character arc in the film.
In one of the best character arcs I've seen in the film in years, actually, I would say. Sam Rockwell is one of those actors for me that has, in all of his roles, has the right blend of hilarious and terrifying at the same time. And that is no different in this movie. My favorite role that he's ever done was The Green Mile. Or what was his name? The absolute nutcase in the film. If you've seen the film, you know what I mean. Absolutely incredible performance in that. Even in the likes of Iron Man 2, which was a terrible film, he was great in it.
He was the best thing about that film.
Right. Indeed, Seven Psychopaths as well. Fantastic in that film.
I would say the way back. Sorry, just a bit.
Yeah.
The way back. It was a very, very underrated film. It's like one of them feel good films, but he was exceptional in it. But the sad thing is, everyone that says it's his best film, I still haven't seen, which is Moon.
I haven't seen Moon either.
The Duncan Jones film. Duncan Jones' new film's out next month on Netflix, so maybe that'd be a good excuse to do it. But Sam Rockwell's the only actor in that film, unless you want to include the voice of Kevin Spacey.
If you'd have told me that a year ago, then I might have said that that's a good cast. Yeah. Ooh. But no, Rockwell's absolutely incredible in this film. Gets all of my favorite scenes, and the character journey of him, and where he ends the film compared to where he starts the film. It's an amazing journey, and it's fun to see it unfold through all the weird happenings that go on in this film. Because I'd say this film is kind of weird. I think when I first watched the film, because I watched it before you watched it today, you said immediately, tell me what you think of the film. And I don't know if I used the word weird. It's unusual. It's unique.
It was a very blunt reply, like, I don't really know.
It was so unhelpful. It was like, mate, you're gonna have to watch the film for yourself, and it's like that's not a great review, is it? But no, I still kind of feel like that towards the movie. But I guess we're gonna sort of delve into spoilers more, and maybe talking about what happens in this film will help me flesh an opinion by the end of this video.
Yeah. So we're just going to. If anyone that cares, we're in spoilers now. Well, not that they care, but we're just going to say it. We're going to announce it.
Is it a quick overall recommendation?
Sorry. That's it. I knew we were missing something.
Yeah.
There we go. You can go first.
I think talking about this movie now, it's a very tightly written film. It's very well directed. It has some great performances in there. I think where I not even disliked this movie, but felt a little let down by it was I was expecting the film to head somewhere to some kind of conclusion. And the movie is very, very open-ended. And that kind of rubbed me up the wrong way when I first watched it. I felt like, well, I've just wasted 2 hours sort of investing into this storyline, expecting some kind of payoff. And I didn't get it. But I think I missed the point of the film entirely, because that is the point of the film. You know, it's that unanswered questions. It's these characters don't know where they're going to find themselves in however many years down the road. And I think that's probably a great depiction of real life grief, in that you have to find a way to deal with it. You have to find a way to move on. You have to become a different person, all of that jargon. But I think that's where the film ultimately ends up. So with that in mind now, and knowing that it does tend more towards a drama than an all-out, laugh-out-loud comedy, I think I'm going to have to give this film another watch to cement my thoughts, especially before Oscar season, before we do our predictions and everything like that. But if you're a lover of great writing, great performances, or even this director, I don't think you're going to be disappointed. I definitely check it out. Go in with an open mind, and I think it's a movie, especially for me, that benefits with multiple viewings. I haven't watched this for multiple viewings yet, but I can pretty much guarantee that I definitely like this film a lot more on a second or third viewing.
Yeah, what I would say is that if you enjoyed his other two films, just certainly watch this to gather an opinion on it. It's not your typical Oscar bait film, like I've said. It's a film that I think you have to kind of see to piece together in your mind. Because I think this is going to have a different effect on everyone that sees it, because the film covers so much of the human life, if you know what I mean. But I would recommend this. It's got outstanding performances from all the leads. It's got a fantastic script. It's very, very well directed. The cinematography and the color palette blends in even better for, I think, what the message of the film is. Especially when you get like the vivid red, which has to stand out in every shot it's in, stuff like that. But I would thoroughly recommend this film, and I think all the hype coming towards it now. Normally at Oscar season, I get very, very arsy about hype and stuff like that. But this is one where I'm really looking forward to see what's going to happen with this over the next month. What's it going to win, what not. But that's my spoiler-free thoughts on Three Billboards.
Right, I think we should just jump straight into spoilers now. So this is your final warning. If you haven't seen the movie, tune out now, go and watch it, come back to us after, because we are going to ruin this entire movie. And there's a few key scenes here which I think definitely need to be watched if you go in absolutely cold. Actually, that was a question I was going to ask you, because you didn't see any trailers. Do you think that benefited from not seeing anything before, or just going straight into it?
I think it did, because if I'd have seen the first, you mentioned the trailers felt a bit comedic.
Yeah, it tended to focus more on the jokey one-liners, so that's why.
Yeah, so if I'd have seen that and then watched this, I'd have been like, this has been marketed very differently to what we got. And also the fact I went in so clean. Like, I mean, I can't remember the last time.
I did that with Seven Psychopaths. I didn't watch any trailers or anything, went straight into it, absolutely loved it. So maybe that is the case.
That's the thing. I'm trying to remember the last time I saw a film without seeing the trailer before it.
It's so difficult now with what we do, isn't it? I mean, when we track like the movie news, when like reactions or whatever, you kind of have to see everything that comes out.
What I said to you is that I didn't see a single trailer for the post, and I wanted to go in. I know what it was about, but I don't want to see a trailer for it. And I'm so close. And then when I saw Darkest Hour on Saturday, there was a trailer for the post that I'm seeing in 2 days' time. So I think just in this modern day, it's so hard to avoid trailers, but I somehow did for this, and I think that did improve it, because all I knew was that there are 3 billboards, and it's got this
Ebbing,
cast.
Missouri. Yes,
yeah. The title is the description, and it takes you 5 minutes to put you in, and you're like, wow. When they start unveiling them one by one, it's not a wake up call, but it's like, yes, this definitely isn't going to be the film I thought it could be. But I took that and I was fine with that, and then I watched it for the rest of what it was. But obviously, I guess the big thing is that, I didn't know Woody Harrelson's character cancer. I didn't know some of the other stuff that's going to happen, which are in the trailers. So everything was a little bit of a shock more than it normally would be. But I definitely think that I benefited from that. Some films, obviously, I want to watch a trailer for. But I think I really benefited. In Bruges, I didn't see a trailer. Seven Psychopaths, I think I did, because I was on a bit of a hype from In Bruges with that. Yes, I definitely did see a trailer for that, actually. So, like you said, you're the one that told me about this film, that this was so under the radar it's released though over here. There's almost nothing. I don't watch much telly, we don't get TV spots, but I haven't seen this advertised online. The only things I've seen from this is the Golden Globes and BAFTA nominations.
We're kind of biased in this country, aren't we? Especially when it comes to award season, because it tends to be we rush and see all the BAFTA nominations. Like everyone will be rushing to see, what we saw, The Darkest Hour, for example. They'll probably see The Phantom Thread, maybe, and some of those more, biographical ones. That I think that's what the UK audiences tend to go towards. Whereas one of these is such like a unique, weird character drama type thing that it might turn a few people off. But right, I think we should just jump straight into spoilers now then. So should we kick off with, as you said, Woody Harrelson has cancer and shoots himself
in the head 40 minutes in, something like that.
Yeah. I thought he was going to last the entire. I thought he was going to be like there when they either catch a killer at the end or don't, or
I was the
really
same. It was when I saw that Woody Harrelson's nominated for Best Supporting Actor as well as Sam Rockwell, I was like, oh, he's probably going to be the end game. And then he dies like 40 minutes in. It reminded me of a spoiler, Ryan Gosling in Place Beyond the Pines. 40 minutes in, there's your main character gone.
Or even last year, Mahershala Ali for Moonlight. Yeah, like
was he in 20 minutes?
He's in like maybe like half hour tops. He's barely in the film. But I guess that doesn't count when it's best supporting. Like you could have any amount of time in there.
Yeah, and that was a plot twist and a half. I tell you that, because
it's a beautiful scene though. Like afterwards, like he has this day out with his wife and his kids, and he's like the ultimate family man. You know, he has sex with his wife at the end, and then he walks out and he's like, I think he says like, I'm just going to get some water or something, doesn't he? Like he says he's got to go to the barn, he's got to tend to the horses or something like that. And then you can kind of guess where it's building up to, especially, well, if you don't know where it's going once he puts the bag on his head, then there's something wrong with you. But he does that, and it doesn't just end there. There's that whole voiceover monologue where it's the voiceover of the letter that he's written. Yeah, because he writes letters to multiple people. Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
and that's why I think that enhances his performance. I mean, we'll do them each individually because they each progress the story. But the one to his wife, where it builds up that day and that builds up everything that's happened before it, and mixing it in with the grief she's saying. But I mean, this is where the script really kicks in with the letters he writes. Every word is written to perfection of the character, but to progress the story as well.
That was the part of the film that really grabbed me, actually, was the letter part where I went, oh, okay, this film's going in this direction. So
yeah, and I just thought it was exceptional because before that, he's like you said, he's the mentor figure that Sam Rockwell's obviously the dodgy cop, and Harrison's protected him a couple of times, and you get a gist of what's happening. There's this one brilliant scene before all this where him and Francis McDormand are having a war of words in the police station, everything, they're proper kicking off, and then he just coughs blood in their face. And he's shocked, but her performance that way, straight away, she sort of cuddles him, like, no, like, come on. And then they're the best friends. He's saying, like, let her go out of the prison and stuff. And it's even in that one coughing scene where you can see, you know, that's again the performance on the script kicking in with the two people. But
and it's not just a throwaway death either, has it? Like his death has impacts on the entire rest of the movie.
Oh,
mostly, Sam Rockwell's character, which we'll get into his scene a little bit later. But I love going to Frances McDormand quickly. Her reaction when she hears that he's died on the news. After that, all the villagers kind of like single her out and blame her for his death, saying that she was the ultimate catalyst as to what caused it. But although she wasn't exactly friends with him and she was very angry at him, there was that respect there between the two of them throughout the start of the movie. And when she hears that news, it's not like a long drawn-out scene, but it's just like a really subtle facial expression from McDormand. And she really captured that, like, he was kind of a friend. Like, she did respect him for, you know, however many years ago it was.
Yeah, and also there's... after he's died, when the news are doing their stuff and she drives past, like, fuck off, you bitches, and stuff like that. It's funny.
It's the same reporter that, like, one time ago was interviewing her about the billboards. Now she's denouncing the billboards. Thought that was great. Very accurate as well with the press, I'm sure.
But that was great. But I think one of the best things with her and Woody Harrelson was reading his letter to her, where he kind of said, you know, now you know I'm dead. That $5,000, that was me. I'm just moving the chessboard. And then he laughs, doesn't he? Actually laughs in the letter.
Yeah.
And then she's kind of smiling as well, although she's quite sad. And it's a phenomenal scene. And that's just his voice performance and her reacting to, I guess, the voice as well.
Yeah.
But even in death, he's still a major player on this because he pushes her sort of events through. And he says, you know, it always haunts me that I couldn't find the killer. But we've tried and stuff, and we'll keep trying. And that was a powerful scene. But I guess his most powerful letter is his final letter to none other than Sam Rockwell, who at this point, I guess we have to talk about this. So we know he's died. And before we get to his letter, we don't normally talk about Oscar films in detail, but this is where you get the black comedy, because we know he's dead. Everyone else knows he's dead, but it hasn't cut to Sam Rockwell in the police yet. Sam Rockwell is in the police station listening to his iPod.
He's completely oblivious as to what's going on.
Yeah, he's oblivious. He's dancing to ABBA. He doesn't have a clue what's happening. I mean, you don't cast Sam Rockwell, and no way does he not dance. And it just the song is perfect. And in the background, in the windows, you can see people crying and stuff. And then it kind of follows him around dancing more. And in the police station, everyone else is going mad, and then someone throws a chair at a wall, and then turns and says, "What's happened?" And he starts crying immediately.
Isn't it the song Chiquitita?
Is it? It is. It's the ABBA song, yeah, Chiquitica. Well, yeah, and it's so random because of his character of him being the racist thug. His reputation is that he tortures black people.
He's not a nice guy when you meet him. He's an absolute dick, but he's Sam Rockwell, so you like him.
Yeah, and that's what makes it harder. Do you know what? It triggered me, actually. Someone online said no, he shouldn't be winning awards. Basically, people are saying because he's playing a racist, it means people are agreeing with racism. To which I think the best reply I ever saw is, does that mean we're endorsing cannibalism because of what's his name? Hannibal.
Yeah.
That finished that storyline for me. But after the death, we get a brilliant moment of him crying. He goes in the bathroom. He doesn't want people to see he's upset and stuff. A brilliant moment.
I just want to say that scene was brilliant because how it's framed at the beginning, you think it's the other policeman who's crying because Sam Rockwell hasn't really showed much emotion in that point. And then the camera, I think they turn towards the camera, don't they? And it's just Sam Rockwell just like bawling his eyes out. Apparently he's fainted like a bunch of times as well, everything like that. I haven't loved ABBA this much since I watched The Martian, I think, with... oh god, what's his name? Matt Damon. But it reminds actually that whole plot line of him listening to his iPod, being oblivious to his surroundings. That is a running theme throughout this film, and it kind of gets its own big finale because of that. And that's the sign of a tightly written script. If you look at Pulp Fiction, for example, Tarantino, there's loads of different running themes in that film, but one of the main ones that people focus on is the whole thing where Travolta's character is always in a toilet when some pivotal moment happens in the plot and he misses it because he's gone to the toilet. And I guess you could kind of say that's the equivalent of this film with the iPod, because the letter that he gets from Woody Harrelson's character, it completely changes him. And not just that, but he gets physically changed as well by the fact that Frances McDormand is across the road.
Before.
Yes.
Before we get his redemption arc, we have...
Oh, of course. Yeah.
So after the crying in the toilet, all we have to say is, me and you both said before we record, we love ourselves a tracking shot.
Yeah.
And there is nothing better than seeing a dirty cop, slightly overweight, a very low angle shot of him walking across to the kid that's been annoying him for days. And he just gets out his baton, beats the shit into him.
Punches the woman first.
Yeah, she comes in screaming and just smacks straight into the face, probably knocked out cold. And then not only does he beat the shit into the lad, he then throws him through the window. And the best thing about this is the tracking shot we get coming down of the window and him walking over the road is just like the body on the floor of someone he just thrown out.
And he walks past the guy who's soon to be the new police chief, isn't he? When he walks in the doorway. And
that's when you've got that's a villain and a half. That is savage. But the fact is the tracking shot just made it so much better.
Yeah.
And then I guess from there on we get the redemption act that he loses the badge and gun, but actually he's just naturally lost his own badge.
I love that. And then he just randomly finds it again at the end. Like he's just like casually like, oh yeah, I found it. I do want to say about his mum as well, because he like lives with his mum in it. That I don't know the name of the actress, but she's in Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and she plays the character of Mac's mum in that series. Exactly the same character, the kind of mumbling, gruff, chain-smoking mom character. It's literally the same role that she's playing, but I love that character in Always Sunny, and it was fun to see her again in this one. It almost reminded me of like a My Name Is Earl kind of
character. Like, he calls her like his mama. He calls that, doesn't he? And
it's even sad with her though, like when his face has all been like mashed up towards the end of the film. And he's just, he goes to the bathroom to get some DNA samples, and she's like banging on the door, sobbing to try and help her son. Her son's just been absolutely just wrecked facially,
Yeah, and I guess why he got wrecked is the other stuff, his redemption arc. So now we can go back to Woody Harrelson now. We don't normally do spoilers this detail, but I think this one
we need to with this one.
The Sam Rockwell story arc does. And he breaks into the police station at night. Just is it to meet up with someone or just to get his badge back or something? I don't know. And
before he gets burnt?
Yeah, he's in the police station.
To get the letter. He gets told that he's got a letter waiting for him, I think. Yeah,
that's it. So he goes in at night and he puts the headphones back in, starts playing. It's got sound like sort of opera / classical music, didn't it? This one. And then on the other side of the street, we've got Frances McDormand throwing Molotov cocktails at the police station.
Because Sam Rockwell was the one who burnt down her billboards, wasn't it?
No, because he battered the lads.
No, that's right. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, you're right.
And so she doesn't know he's in there though. So she's throwing cocktails. Everything's on fire. He's reading the letter from Woody Harrelson, who is basically telling him that, you know, you are a great cop, but I've always seen a detective. You need to do this, that, the other. Like, I see you. It was like the sort of like the mentor figure. He's left the final letter for his kind of almost son. And Sam Rockwell clearly has him as a father figure, and especially in the police station. And it's the brilliant moments of this where at the end of it, there's more and more fire, and every time there's another grenade going off, the letter goes on to more about how great a person he can be. So he kind of building this up, like, oh no, they're not going to kill Rockwell as well, are they? And then he turns around and sees the fire, but he gets his face moment, his savior, where he takes the files about the killer and to solve the case, and he jumps through the window, through all the fire, and saves the files by chucking them on the other side of the road. And that one moment is his entire redemption. Yes, the film does a lot more of it, but it's that one, because we don't know at this point if he's going to die or not.
Yeah.
But it was that moment where she realizes that he was actually trying to help her.
And that really starts to build there, because they're like the ultimate duo by the end of the movie, aren't they? And that's really the pivotal moment, because she witnesses this firsthand, that he jumped out, and she sees that he was carrying the file out as well. The film after that kind of diverts and sort of focuses on Frances McDormand more with her ex-husband, who's got like he's like middle-aged, and he's got like a 19-year-old girlfriend or something like that. But she finally lets that go and sort of says, you know, I hope you treat her right and everything like that, have a happy life, and gets out of there. But I want to talk about the very, very end of this movie, where there's this whole plot line where there's this really shady, not good character. Like, he kind of openly admits that he might possibly have been the killer. But he's sort of like just doing it to, you know, bait Frances McDormand's character. He's not a nice guy. And, sorry. Again, this was kind of set up earlier in the film as well. Oh, God, I'm going to cough. You talk.
Yeah. So earlier on in the film, he comes into Frances McDormand's shop, and he starts saying stuff to her like, it could have been me that killed your daughter. It could have been me. Is it you? No, it's not me. So we've been introduced to this guy, but obviously we didn't see him again. And then we get Sam Rockwell later, who's sort of recovering from his scars, thinking about everything. And the guy who could be the killer's in the bar talking rubbish with his mate. So yeah, I raped her, blah, blah, blah. And Sam Rockwell's listening, and his ears kind of perk up, and he keeps walking inside and outside. And he's basically taking the number plate every time he goes outside just to double check. And what happens is there's a minor act where he's known as he was racist to like black people and stuff, and they put one of the lead, someone he put in prison just for being black and being friends with Frances McDormand. They put her there at the bar with someone else, and it's kind of the redemption, not just to their act, but they see that he's actually a good human as well. And what happens is this guy mercilessly batters him because he scratches him in the face to get some DNA, which you find out later. But he takes a beating, and by a beating, it's brutal. On top of being like Two-Face already from Dark Knight, and he just keeps himself getting battered until they both leave, knowing that he's got the DNA and the number plate to try and find some more stuff about him. Which is a big moment, because then you get some more brilliant scenes where he says, you know, it might not be the guy, but we've got someone, we've got something, we've got a lead.
It reminded me a little bit of Memento, in that, you know, the whole point of that film, this is going to spoil Memento for anyone who hasn't seen it, is that you've got this guy with memory loss, but he just needs that guy. He needs that action of revenge in order to like sort of satiate his own mind. Doesn't matter if it is actually the guy who did it. He just needs someone to sort of like fill in and substitute that role. And it kind of reminded me with this movie as well, with Frances McDormand, where it feels like she needs that act of justice, mostly at her own hand. Like, she turns to the law at the beginning of the film, and then when she knows that they're not doing anything, that's when she gets more sort of like militant with it and more homicidal with the Molotov cocktails. Then by the end of the film, it's kind of framed like her and Sam Rockwell are going to go out and murder this one guy. Yes, he didn't do it, and they've proven that he didn't do it, but they know that he's not a nice guy, and he probably has done something similar to someone else before. So the final scene of this movie is them sort of going on a road trip together, sort of like this uneasy new friendship. and they're driving to kill this guy. And midway through the journey, he says, like, do you really want to do this? I don't know if it's him who asks her first or her him. She's like, do you want to go through this? Do you want to do it? And she's like, not really. But we'll decide on the way there. And I thought that was the perfect ending line, perfect ending shot, and sort of sums up. I think they probably wouldn't do it, in all honesty. I think they'd reach.
No, I think they would.
Oh, do you think? Oh, okay.
I think at the end of the day, he's got a history in him. They know this guy is a rapist, and she would obviously find out it's the guy that threatened her in the shop and stuff. But
because I think they needed to reach a point at the end where they needed to let go, and I think midway through that journey, they'd probably realize that killing another person probably isn't the way to go about it, and she needs to just sort of like move on and accept what happened.
I mean, it's a weird one, but do you know what it reminds me of?
What's that?
A Nolan ending.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah.
It was so open-ended because we don't know the killer who killed her daughter. We don't know if they're going to kill this one dodgy guy, and we don't know the future. And there's another great moment where, you know, he says, I burned down the police station. And he laughs in, of course you did. Everyone knew you did. But it's the chemistry between those two, even when he's the nasty cop and she's the kind of crazed mother, they've got great chemistry, and they clearly hate each other. But even within the hate, they clearly have a little bit of respect for one another. Because she'd say one thing, it'd get him triggered or angry, he's trying to defend himself. Not that we make jokes about race, but there's this brilliant bit where she says, you know, you torture, uses the N-word. And he's like, no, I don't say that. I call them people of color. I torture people of color. And it's, you know, that's funny because what the script is, it's not something obviously you hear in everyday life and that. But I guess with the sort of the modern day police brutality you hear of so much, it's kind of relevant. But the one thing I want to say is, I don't know when this film is set, because it looks modern, but then it looks ever so slightly dated, of maybe 10 years or something, because there's no fancy phones, no touch screens, no nothing like that, older cars, but it still feels quite modern. So
it's really quite a timeless setting, isn't it? I like films that do that, though. I think that's really interesting how they do that. Because
it won't age, and that's the beauty of films like that. But I like that, especially with the sort of rundown. And the fact at the end of the day, a film called Three Billboards was actually about three billboards.
Yeah, we can't say it was misleading with the title at all. Final thoughts on this movie for me. I think talking about it more now and how in-depth we have gone with it, as you said, we've probably gone more in-depth into this one than we have for probably most of our other reviews, especially in the spoiler section. I think I've turned around on this movie now. I think I do like it. I can sort of see what the film was getting at now. When I first watched it, I felt a little bit underwhelmed that it didn't tie everything up in a neat little bow. It kind of reminds me of most Last Jedi fans, actually, in the fallout after that movie. But I think there's a lot to like with this movie. I think ultimately, and not to harp on the ending, but I think the ultimate theme of this movie is probably forgiveness and acceptance. We have that with Sam Rockwell's character, Frances McDormand. We have that with her ex-husband. We have that with Woody Harrelson's character. So that's why I think at the end she wouldn't go through and do what they were setting out to do. I think this is quite a deep movie when you really go into it, but on the surface, it's like a solid, entertaining, not as funny as I thought it was going to be, but there's a lot of great jokes in there. Ultimately, I'm kind of all over the place on this one and can't give you a solid review on it. I enjoyed it. I think I'm going to enjoy it a lot more the more and more I watch this film, and I am definitely going to watch this film a second time at the cinema before we get to awards season.
Yes, I'm very excited. I do want to see it's one of these. It's with you sort of your crime dramas, watching it the first time is fantastic because you find out what's happening. But it's really with this genre where you can really pick it up on the second viewing. Everything hits more and more. So I'm very intrigued to see this one again. I think each character has their own story arcs, which is great as well. Even her son, who's not in it much.
Oh, it's incredibly written. Yeah, in terms of films, this is probably in terms of writing, the ones that I've seen so far, this is definitely the strongest. But it will be a movie where if someone comes out of this one and says, hated that movie, bored me, didn't get it all, I can see where they're coming from. I know that this isn't a movie that's going to like be unanimously acclaimed by any regular cinema goer. I think this is going to be a very sort of niche audience who know what they're expecting from the director or like these actors, or it's not going to be as far reaching, I don't think, as most of the other ones that are in the Academy Award run list.
Definitely, for sure. My final thoughts is it's kind of echoing what I said before. Now that I can talk about spoilers, this is truly worth seeing for the story arc of Sam Rockwell's character, the performances, each and every one, the writing, the directing, the story itself. It's interesting to hear people's opinions, because even when you first texted me after you first saw it, I think I woke up the next morning and I seen your message, I was like, ooh, this kind of makes it more intriguing because there was no clear opinion on it. So I'm excited to see what it does, but I think with the, even not controversy, but with the sort of modern day, how can I say it? Not political correctness, that's the wrong term. With like what's happening in like modern day with events, stuff like police brutality, stuff like that, makes the film incredibly, I think, relevant, because it does still happen, some of the stuff. But all politics aside, I think this is an exceptional film, and it's just demonstrating what Martin McDonagh can do again. And I can't wait to see what he does next. He's really someone that now he's done 3 great films in a row, debut films at that. There's a streak starting there. And it certainly got me invested into seeing what he does next. But he's the one that gets the best out of his cast, and I think anyone that can do that is worth following.
Absolutely. The one last thing I forgot to mention in this, the guy who plays Frances McDormand's son in the film is playing, obviously, the son of a parent who's absolutely depressed and just like life is ruined by grief, a dead kid or a dead family member. Also played a very similar role last year with Manchester by the Sea with Casey Affleck, almost an identical character. Forgot to mention that earlier. But yeah, I guess that'll do it. Do you want to hit the outro on this one, George? Or
yes. I'm not going to do the first usual bits. What I will say is that given it's Oscar season, when the nominations go up on Tuesday, we'll have a video up this week, probably Wednesday, I think, where we'll be running down the Oscar nominations. But every year, for those that haven't followed it before, we do an Oscar predictions game that we do on the Oscars night, our big Oscars live stream. We'll have that going up. We'll be going through the instructions with that and how we play it and whatnot. So there's that to look forward to. We've now got an Oscar playlist where every single film that gets nominated to some degree, we will. If we've got a review for it, it's going to be on this giant playlist. So check that out. We've got right now, Coco went up yesterday with you and Tate. We've got Loving Vincent as well. So there's 2 of your animated ones that are going to be up for it. We've got obviously like Dunkirk, Blade Runner, Darkest Hour. Obviously 3 Billboards in case you're watching later. And we've got posts and so many more films coming out over the next month. So be sure to stick with us through that. I guess there's nothing else to market right now but Oscar season. We've got normal videos, reactions, news come in and whatnot, but the big thing is going to be Oscar season, so we'll be covering you like we have the last 2 years, and this will probably be the Oscar year where I'm actually around. Normally I kind of crawl into a corner and hide, but I'm actually really excited for it this year. It looks a lot stronger than previous years, but Oscars aside, be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, follow us on Instagram. We're posting all of our stuff, so if you want to know what we're doing, we're always posting on Instagram before we go live now and afterwards.
And the links to those are in the description.
Yep, everything in the description. And just thanks for listening, I guess. I don't normally do the outros.
Yes, it's a bit strange, isn't it? We flipped it around for this one.
Yeah, but also let us know what you think of 3 Billboards in the description below, but don't drop spoilers, or if you do, just put a couple of lines in the gaps between it and we'll get back to you on all of them. But thanks for listening.
See you.